You're listening to Knives in Monroe versus the podcast, and we're here to be speaking about just and sad stuff.
You're listening to the Knives Monroe podcast. I'm your host, Knives Monroe. How you guys doing? Hopefully you're doing well. Today, I have a longtime friend, one of the first contacts I ever made when I moved to Austin.
That's true.
Dear friend, Jay Bullington, co-host of the Have You Seen This One podcast. And if you haven't heard of it, check it out. Jay, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Mize. Thanks so much for having me. And I just want to add that there are some of those episodes that you are in of our podcast, by the way.
That's true. I think we talked about the Babadook. We talked about, did we talk about Mother?
We did.
We did?
No. You know what? We kept talking about it. That's what we did.
Okay, well, maybe
I don't think we never actually covered it. We did Mother, and then we did Midsummer.
Midsummer,
yeah.
And then La La Land.
Midsummer, however you want to say that, yeah.
La La Land as well, which I was really excited.
Oh, and La La Land. That was a fun one.
That was a fun one. I remember I went to go see that with a friend, a very dear friend of mine, and we had a movie podcast, and I guess it just didn't work out, and we're still friends, but I would give anything to still have that podcast with him. It was called Back Beyond. We did maybe 30 episodes. I wish we did more. And
are they archived? Can we find those?
I have to, the way that RSS feed worked is I have to pay for the subscription for SoundCloud again to bring them back. But the last episode, for some weird reason, is out there. But I think it's worth maybe paying just the first month so I can re-download them. And if with his permission, I'd love to re-share them. I don't know how well they'd hold up, but they were so much fun. It's
called Back Beyond?
It was called Back Beyond, which was...
You know what? I remember. This wasn't that long ago. I remember this.
Yeah. I was doing it while I was on your show, for sure. So I may have promoted it.
I actually heard this podcast then. Okay, I'm sorry, I forgot the title of it.
That's okay.
It's been a while.
I know, and I had so much fun doing it. And I've asked him a few times. It's like going back to an old lady and your ex-girlfriend or boyfriend and being like, "Do you want to get the band back together?" And he's just like, "Nah." I'm like, "Oh, I ruined it." But he took me to see La La Land, and we had Starbucks afterwards. And I broke down in the middle of the Starbucks, crying my 30-year-old self about just how awe-inspiring that movie was
and joyous and. I mean, we talked about it on our show. The opening number, I'm not kidding you. A couple weeks ago, we popped it in just to watch it. And again, the opening number just brings tears of joy to my eyes. Being a former dancer also, and watching all these dancers, just looking at all of them and just thinking, look, we're in a big Hollywood musical. Yeah. Who would have dreamed that someone would make one today and that I would be in it? You can see the joy on every dancer's face. It just gets to me every time. I love that movie so much.
I don't think I knew that you were a former dancer.
Oh yeah, I went to college as a dancer. I got a dance scholarship, went to college, and I danced for 15 years professionally, and then it just got to where it just hurt too much.
Yeah,
dancer's body is beaten up very young, and it's really, it gets painful after a while. So I couldn't do it anymore.
Do you have residual pain today from it?
Oh, absolutely. My knees will never forgive me.
Oh man.
Yeah.
On that note, what were some of the highlights and lowlights from your dancing career?
Oh, from dancing?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Some of the highlights were being in shows like Theater Under the Stars shows in Houston. Like I was in Cinderella, and had a featured part in that. Was a featured dancer where we had like a pas de deux, duet, and so that was really a cool thing. Another cool thing was being in the Houston Thanksgiving Day Parade, only because that day was so nutty and crazy that I'll never forget it. It was like 34 degrees, and we're wearing these costumes that are like tissue thin.
Oh, fun.
and we're supposed to be doing a chorus line, like we look like a chorus line, but we're dancing to Vogue. It was just so bizarre.
Whoa, what? Wow.
And one of the worst things that ever happened to me, and I'll never forget this, and my friend Kathy Hill, hello Kathy, that stinker. She I got hired to dance with this dance company, and they were at a Jewish community center, but they were a professional dance company. I'm not going to say the name of it because I don't want to slander this woman's name, but anyway, she had created a ballet about Jim Jones and the whole, Kool-Aid thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fascinating story.
Guess
First thing I
played
think
Jim
about
Jones?
is it should be a ballet. That's the word.
A ballet, right? Yeah. So guess who plays Jim Jones? Me.
Wow.
I'm Jim Jones, okay. And so I got hired. I did it because this woman saw me perform with the dance company, and she said, "I'm doing it's only a 3-night. We're only doing it for 3 nights, but it is a paid, position, professional. We're a professional company, and I would very much like you to play the lead part in this ballet." And I'm like, okay, that's sure. And I'm thinking, okay, so I got paid more money than I'd ever been paid before, by the way, to play this horrible part with this horrible choreography where she had things like, I would point a real rifle, not a real rifle, but like a fake rifle at one of the girl dancers, and she would grab the rifle and pull it toward her and pull it like into her. It's like so obvious. And then later on, I come dancing out with a tray with Dixie cups on it, and to keep the Dixie cups from falling off, they had to put Velcro. So every time one of the dancers ripped one off, the audience could hear rip.
Oh.
So I told my family, I told all my friends, I was like, don't come see this. Do not come see this. It's terrible. It's going to be the worst 2 hours of your life. Don't do it. Opening night, I come dancing out on stage and grinning in the front row is my friend Kathy, just grinning at me big as life. I'm not like, you bitch.
Wow. She didn't tell you.
She didn't tell me she was coming. And, oh my God, it was so funny. It was so funny.
How do you perform a musical that you know is bad?
You just have to turn into that professional, okay, they paid me to do this and I'm going to do my job and I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, because no matter what you're doing, I think it's probably true for actors too. I've done very little acting, but you know what? I'm responsible for my performance, and I'm going to make sure that what I'm giving is 100% or more.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters how good or bad it is. Once I got on stage, I'm like, except for that one moment when I saw her and I almost broke character because she just was grinning at me so big. It was a small theater,
And so not only are you dancing, but you're also acting, right?
Well, basically, in this, I was playing a part. So yeah, I was kind of dance acting. I would call it dance acting. I have my phone on silent, but it keeps dinging anyway. I'm sorry.
That happens. It's cool. The listeners are going to think it's their phone, and so it's funny to me. That makes it funny. How do you, because that's acting. So you have acted.
It is acting, yeah.
How do you believe in the material? I understand that you put your professional hat on, but how do you make words that you don't believe in come to life? Well,
here's the thing. I didn't speak. It's a ballet. It's all dance.
Well, okay. So how do you express that through your body, your instrument?
You know what? Actually, after that first moment, I kind of just put a wall up between me and the audience, where it was like I was in a 4-wall room in my head.
Oh,
where
really?
I'm not really performing for them. I'm just trying to feel the moment and what's happening with the other characters and stuff. I'm making it sound so much deeper than it was, because the way she did this thing, it was incredibly shallow. So it's like you said, the highlight and low light, that was definitely a low light of my dance career. Yeah.
Wow, that's so cool. I maybe you mentioned it once, and it just kind of went in one ear and out the other. I'm like,
well, it's
maybe
so long ago. Geez.
Maybe Jay mentioned that he likes to dance, not necessarily that he was a dancer, but especially right now, we're in a Great Depression. I think these musicals,
the Greater Depression,
that's where they came from, right?
Oh yeah, Depression era musicals are some of my favorite films, actually, like 42nd Street and Gold Diggers of 1933 and all those. I love those things, man. They're awesome. Yeah.
What's the expression? There's an expression that if you can't say it, sing it, and if it can't be sung, dance.
Dance it.
Dance, right? Isn't it something like that?
I have heard that. Yes.
There was what'd you think about Hamilton? Did you see that?
You know what? I am embarrassed to admit that I have not watched Hamilton yet, and we got Disney Plus. I just haven't been able to sit down and watch it yet, but it's on my watch list. But
Yeah.
so tell me what your thoughts on it are, because I'm worried that being the old man that I am, I'm not going to understand anything they're saying.
I don't think so. I think you would dig it. So I've never
probably
seen a
closed captions,
play
though.
in real life. I've never seen a musical in real life,
Oh, okay.
which I need to. I would love to
You've never seen
watch.
a live musical?
Mm-mm. I've never even seen
Okay.
like a theater. I've never seen kids play acting.
Dude, there's one that if they're ever doing it here in Austin again, you need to go see it. Hedwig and the Angry Inch is a great way to get into musicals. It's modern, it's rock, and it's really, really an amazing experience.
I've heard of it. Yeah, that
Yeah,
sounds very
it's really
familiar to
good.
me. Is that based off of a movie or something?
It's also no, it was an off Broadway show first. It was
Oh.
like a cabaret act first, actually, and then it turned into an off Broadway show, and then it did get turned into a movie. John Cameron Mitchell wrote it, he directed it, and he stars as Hedwig, and he is absolutely remarkable. He's
Wow.
just remarkable. Keith, my co-host
Of
Keith
course.
Carcino on the podcast, I made him watch this musical, and he was like, "Oh God, a musical!" And actually, that is his favorite movie I've ever made him watch.
Wow, it's that good.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
it blew him away. He's like, I did not expect to like it. He said the music was amazing. It moved me. It made me laugh. It was like made him like tear up, and it's an amazing experience. The only weird thing about it is that for some reason my husband hates it.
So you guys are you have opposing views apparently. You don't love all the same
Sometimes.
things.
Yeah, sometimes as you know, I'm a huge horror movie fan.
Yep.
And he's over the we've been together like God, it's almost 23 years ago that we met. It's amazing.
Wow.
But he over the years he's gotten more used to watching like gore and stuff because I've always got it on the TV. But he does not prefer that at all.
You
know,
wore
he
him
doesn't
down.
like that.
Is what you're saying. You wore him
I
down.
really did. Okay, I admit it. I wore him down.
What's his favorite movie?
What's his favorite movie?
Yeah.
Okay, that it could be. Okay, it could either be Meet Me in St. Louis or Goodbye Lover.
Wow.
which is much more obscure. He loves both of those movies when I put him. Also, he loves How to Marry a Millionaire with because we love Marilyn Monroe, and also Marilyn Monroe. Also Marilyn Monroe. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes because Jane Russell is so good in that one.
Wow.
So he enjoys the old musicals with me. He likes those.
Yeah.
He loves mysteries. He's just not. Sometimes I'll be watching a movie and he'll just outright say that's disgusting and walk out of the room.
Really? Well, what about at the theater? Has he ever walked out of the theater?
No, but I've never taken him with me to see something that I knew was going to be, and I usually know ahead of time because I read about all these movies, So I've never taken him to the theater knowingly where something was going to be awful. Usually at the theater we have a great time, except oh God, and people have yelled at me about this. We went to see Titanic together, and we both hated Titanic.
What? And have you rewatched it?
I tried. I could not get through it.
Why? I just rewatched it recently during this lockdown. Really? It's delightful.
I can't stand the way Okay, when was this supposed to be set? What is it, like 1910?
Yeah,
when is it?
Something like that.
Okay, yeah, okay. They talk like they're in the Bronx right now.
Yeah.
The dialogue is so wrong for the era that every moment. In fact, one of my favorite parodies of it. I'm a big fan of French and Saunders. They're a British comedy duo. They're women, and Jennifer Saunders. She's the one who did Absolutely Fabulous. If you know that show.
Yeah, I watched it.
Well, the idea from Absolutely Fabulous came from a French and Saunders sketch because they're a sketch show and they're hilarious. Well, they also one time did a parody of Titanic. And Dawn French played Leonardo DiCaprio, and every 5 minutes she'd go, "Ah, shit, Rose."
Yeah, I got you.
And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it. It was so alarmingly out of place for me. I could not get over that. Of course, I also hated Avatar, so maybe it's a James Cameron thing. I don't know.
It might be.
I like his early stuff though.
It might be like when James Cameron is being very broad. you probably don't like that.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed his early stuff, and I love The Abyss. I think The Abyss was a highly underrated film.
Yeah, Terminator.
Oh, Terminator. Well,
Come on.
hell, yeah, it's
Yeah.
classic. Yeah, and Aliens too.
Yep.
Aliens. I'm a huge fan of that movie. So it's his early stuff is fine, but also he's become so arrogant that I just don't even want to hear his name anymore.
I get you. No, I get you. In a weird way, I kind of feel like he could bring big movies in a big way back. I don't know if the next 5 Avatar movies is exactly what we need right now, but I think he makes movies for the world, not just for America.
Not just for America.
Yeah, and I do appreciate that.
And part of that is just wanting to appeal to everyone and make them happy. And part of that is just wanting to make as much money as possible.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, he says he's made like three sequels that are going to be that he's been working on 3 sequels to this movie all these years, and it's like,
yeah,
I laugh to myself, and I laugh to myself and think, wouldn't it be hilarious if for all these years he kept saying that, and every day he's at home going, oh my god, I got to start. Oh my god, I got to start.
Oh my gosh, it would be the new Chinese Democracy from Guns N' Roses that never came out. That would be funny. So real quick, I want to go back to Hamilton. So I've never seen a play. I mean, I've seen pieces here and there, but I'd never sat through it. So this was as close as it's ever been for me, and I really enjoyed it. Like and my wife hates musicals. She hated La La Land. Like the first 15 seconds, she was out. She was she was like, no, I can't believe. Are they doing this? Are they actually going to do this? And I was like, this is a musical. What's wrong with you? But I jokingly, when I'm being an asshole, I'll tell her, you just don't like Joy. You're not a fan of Joy. But she'll never hear
Tell her
this.
Jay says yes.
She just, I don't know. But so I watched Hamilton. I just put it on because it was like a cultural, zeitgeist moment.
Yeah.
And I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. It was just so beautiful. And also,
I have to watch this today.
I really love watching people at the peak of their, I don't know, talent or just really be perfect.
It's exciting, isn't it?
It looks like these performances are perfect. I can't even fathom the hours that went into that production. So it's long.
You're making me excited to go to watch it. I think I might watch it later today.
It's long. So feel free to watch the first half and then see the second half some other time or something.
Like break it up,
if you have to. But I didn't know anything about Lin-Manuel Miranda. I didn't know really anything about who Alexander Hamilton is or why I should care. But it hooked me, man. But I also think I'm a sucker for anything that's well done. Like I could have watched any musical and I think it would have suckered me in. Maybe except for Cats. I don't get cats. I don't even like cats as animals. So I'm not a cat person.
I like the animals, but the play I have never liked, except that one song song's beautiful. It's a beautiful memory. Memory's a beautiful song.
Yeah.
You can't make a whole play around one song.
Right.
Because all the other songs are crap. They are crap. I did go to see. Oh, they're terrible. And this incredible composer made this crap. It's like it just goes to show you every artist has a bad day.
Sure.
But I went to see Cat the movie at the theater, and for one thing, and this is way before the pandemic. Okay.
Yep.
For one thing, it was 6:00 in the evening. Okay, it should be packed. I'm the only person in the theater.
Wow.
I was the only one there. And so I was able to laugh out loud as much as I wanted to at how bad this thing was. I had to see, I went to saw the Alamo because I've got that Alamo season pass. So it didn't cost anything extra to go see it. I'm like, what the heck? Let's go check this out. I laughed my ass off. Oh my God. It was so bad.
Yeah.
That's a movie that you don't leave the theater because it's so bad. You're laughing and you're enjoying how bad it is,
Yeah. It's insane. I don't understand. Like actors, I have to remind myself there are exceptions, but like actors by and large in Hollywood, like aren't really smart people. I don't think like, I don't really think they're the place where you should get your news or something. Like, how did they think these were good choices at all?
Well, and I was talking to Owen Edgerton one time, Master Pancake and the filmmaker, and he's like, nobody sets out to make a bad movie. Nobody's like, oh, we're going to try to make this as bad as possible. he says nobody. I'm like most people.
Yeah. I
Yeah, most
think
people.
people
I think most
need,
people making a movie, they want to make it as best as they can, right?
sure, as someone who's made a bad movie, like I can honestly say that the director should assume full responsibility, but also you need a good, solid group around you to tell you, dude, what is this? Why are you doing this?
And you need to have enough humility to listen to them and say,
Absolutely.
"Oh, yeah, I think that's important. I think
Same
that's important."
same director. Did you see Les Mis with Hugh
Yes,
Jackman? And I thought I didn't really like that movie either, and I
I
thought the
didn't like it.
performances were bad.
I thought Anne Hathaway was good.
I thought she was acting her little butt off. That's what I'll
Yeah,
say. She acted her ass
yeah.
off for
I
sure.
think she was acting, and the rest of them were just. They almost. I mean, I hate to say this about Hugh Jackman, but they all seem to just be going through the motions. And what's his name? The guy.
Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe. Oh my God! Why do you hire Russell Crowe for a musical?
I don't know.
Why do you hire these actors that can't sing at all? I've never understood that. Why do you hire an actor that can't sing for a musical? It makes
Yeah.
no sense whatsoever. And there's so many talented actors that can sing.
Yeah.
There's so many of them out there.
That
God, go to Broadway. There's thousands of them there.
that movie is so bad that
Oh God, it was.
Eddie Redmayne, an actor I do not like to look at, is one of the best parts of that movie. Like he
I know you're talking about, and you're right.
I don't like his face. I don't know what it is. I feel bad because like he's pretty, I guess, but I just don't. I don't want to see him in anything. It's weird. I feel that way about certain actors. But yeah, please watch Hamilton. It surprised me. You might not like it. I don't think it's like. I mean, I don't think theater is there to reinvent a wheel. It's not going to be something you've never seen before. I don't think. I think it's very
Oh,
accessible, and the songs are great.
well, that's what I hear. And my friends who like that I used to dance with, and people I was in musicals with and stuff that I'm still in touch with, they're all like, Jay, why the hell haven't you watched this yet? You're gonna love this. And they're all saying that it feels very fresh and new to them.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because we used to do all the old we were in Oklahoma and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So they're saying that they keep telling me, and now you've said this, and I'm gonna have to check it out. That's all there is to it.
Check it out. I mean, you have nothing to lose. It's on Disney Plus.
Yeah, and I already got it. I said one time on the show, I'm like, I'm not giving Disney any more money. I'm not getting Disney Plus. And a friend, let's just say that a really good friend sent me a private message, and I have Disney Plus now. Okay, let's just say that.
I gotcha. I gotcha. I have maybe 8 or 10 streaming platforms, and I pay for like 2 of them. It's just what it is. But
Yeah, Keith and I share stuff. Keith and I share stuff all the time too. Yeah, we're and they've got to know that. I mean, surely everybody, all these companies know it.
yeah,
You know.
yeah, it's totally fine. I'm sure they
Yeah.
count it in, and they'll be fine. Disney
Oh, yeah.
will be
They're not
okay.
hurting.
Yeah.
Yeah, Disney's going to be all right.
Tonight we're doing like a last weekend we did a movie night, and we saw my kids had never seen Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, and it was great.
Oh,
That's a really
what
good
did they
movie.
think?
I think they had fun. They weren't scared. I wanted
It's
them.
not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanted them to be scary, but they had fun, and it moved a little slow for my daughter, but she's impatient,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And tonight we're gonna watch the original Evil Dead.
Oh, man.
And they
You're
have
going
never
from-
seen it. That one's gonna
You're
fuck them
going
up.
from popcorn to blood corn.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Evil Dead in 20 years. I
You're
saw
watching the original one, right?
Of course, yeah. I've seen
Yeah,
the
yeah.
the
Okay.
remake, and
Okay,
it's
I
got good
predict
gore.
that they
The
will be
remake.
scared.
Yeah, I think so. I
predict
was
that it will
scared.
be scary. The
Yeah.
first one is still scary, even
Yeah.
if you've seen it a million times, which close to that I have, because I love those movies. Except Army of Darkness, I'm not that crazy about it. It's
Me
a little
neither.
little too Three Stooges for me.
I don't like
Um,
it.
Yeah, but the first and the second ones, oh my God, and the remake too, that was out 10 years ago or whatever. The
Mhm.
remake Evil Dead,
It's not
they
bad.
did a really great job on that one.
Yeah, that one. I mean, let's be real. I'd love to talk about horror because as an indie filmmaker, I've never made a movie like a genre movie, but I just kind of don't know how to do it, if I'm being honest. But what I like about horror as a genre is that the fans are so forgiving. They will be along for the ride, no matter how crude it is.
We will show up for part 7 of a movie and know that it's not going to be great, but we're going to show up anyway because we want that horror. Okay,
Yeah.
we want that. And there's always, no matter how bad the whole movie is, there's always one scene. There's
Yeah.
always there's usually one scene that's like, this made it all worth it. You
Yeah.
know, that one scene. And I want you to know that when you make that horror movie, I want to be in your movie. I don't care if I'm a background extra just leaning on the wall. I want to be in that
Yeah.
movie.
I want you to be the creepy old guy that's like,
That's me.
you don't want to walk down that road. A lot
You're
of
all doomed.
a lot of history down that road. Yeah.
Oh, I could do that so well, dude. I'm telling
That'd
you,
be so
I'm all
good.
over it.
Now consider it done. But there's also horror snobs and like elitists, and they liked the
like with
Evil
everything.
Dead remake, and so that's when you know it's good. I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I don't always agree with them usually because some of them are such snobs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I went and saw it with my friend Kelly Arnold, and we came out of there going. We walked in going, okay, let's check this out. Oh, we'll see how it is. You know, we came out, we were looking at each other, we were like, that was awesome. That was
Yeah.
like a fun roller coaster, man. That was,
Yeah.
it was really fun.
Especially for a gore hound, like it satiates your bloodthirst.
Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
it's just nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
The carving knife thing, you know, the electric carving knife scene, and it's just, oh my God, it's so much fun.
Are you kind of like encyclopedic when it comes to horror, and you try to watch everything that's out there?
I would say I used to be,
Yeah.
but there's so much out there. I'm that way with the old stuff. Okay, I'm pretty. I can. If I haven't seen it, I've at least seen scenes from it. You know, and I've sought out some really obscure old Italian stuff. You know, I've got quite a collection of movies.
Yep.
Mostly horror, of course. But right now, there's so much new stuff with all these streaming channels and everything. I can't keep up with the new stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm having to pick and choose a little bit more what I watch and I'm going a lot more by word of mouth than I used to, just because I don't have time to watch all this stuff. You know, I'm a teacher. I got to plan my lessons. And right now it takes like twice as long to plan your lessons as it used to because you got to do everything virtually, you know? So once I get done with that, it's like, okay, I can watch one movie tonight. What am I going to watch? And there's like, oh, well, here's 10 new movies to check.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, how do I pick which one? And to be honest with you, lately I end up just going back. Like right now, I'm obsessed with Night of the Demons from 1988. Yeah, the original. You know, Angela.
Yep.
I'm just obsessed with that movie right now, and I don't know why. There's just something about. I've watched it like 3 times in the last 2 weeks.
Wow, that's your comfort food, Jay. Super
It really
normal.
is. You know what? You're right.
Is
It
that
is.
how
It's comfort
hard?
food.
Is that how hard it is to create a school lesson plan right now? That's your comfort food? Is Night of the Demons? Golly.
Yes, that is very telling, isn't it?
Very telling. There was a little run. I think it was on Showtime. I could be wrong. Sorry, listeners. Of a series called Masters of Horror.
Oh yeah, I love that.
There was supposedly, when I was growing up in high school, there was this one. What was the director's name? Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm gonna have to look it up. But
Can you think of a movie? I might be able to.
did you ever see Itchy the Killer?
Itchy.
Yeah, Itchy the Killer or Audition.
Oh yes. Oh, dude. Not only do I have you mean Ichi? ICHI?
Yeah,
Dude, I have that movie on disc.
that's
Are
what I'm
you kidding?
talking about. Okay, Takashi Mikai. There's his name.
Oh yeah. Audition. Yeah.
He did a Masters of Horror, and I believe the film was called Imprint.
Yes.
Have you seen this movie?
Yes.
Okay, so what are your thoughts? Because that's the movie. If I want to fuck somebody's world up, it's like only an hour long, and I don't even know if you want to call it a movie because it was a part of this anthology.
It's a
kind of like a made-for-TV movie, essentially.
yeah. Well, it's from that series, right?
Yeah, Masters of Horror.
Masters of Horror. Yeah. So they're like hour long. Oh damn! I can't find it. I'm trying to look it up here.
The lore when I was growing up was that it was banned in America. That was the lore, and so you knew I had to watch it. That movie is it'll stick with you. It's totally horrifying.
Imprint. You know what? I'm wondering if I'm thinking of a different movie now. Now that I'm looking, I don't think I've seen it. So it's one of those episodes. I thought I saw all those episodes.
Well, here's the thing. So this goes back to it being banned in America. You'd have to import it from. Well, now it's easier, but in 2005 it was a little harder trying to find it. But
okay, so
sure
it wasn't part of that series. It was like something he did.
It was too hardcore for television.
Oh
Yeah.
God.
And
No, I gotta see it.
Just to see if this will refresh your memory. It takes place in Japan during like the geisha period, so it's a like 10th century or 15th century, or I have
not seen this. Then.
Okay. Please go out of your way to find it, but it's gonna ruin your day, Jay. It's not a feel-good popcorn.
I'll watch
flick.
Hamilton after that.
Okay, deal. Oh God, that's the way I am. You gotta go down to come back up sometimes.
It's the roller coaster of movies.
What's an example of a horror film that you've seen that was too hardcore for you? Like, I want to know what your outer limits are.
There's what is the name of that movie? Damn it. A Serbian film.
Yeah, I saw it.
It's called a Serbian film. Did you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was like, no, I don't need this.
Kind of hard to call that a horror film, though, right? Like, I wouldn't call that a horror film.
A disgust film, maybe. I
don't
was
know.
disgusted.
It was really
I was
just
like, no, this is not for me.
It was trying to be edgy, and so it did all the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and the baby thing and all. I was like, no, why am I watching this?
Yeah.
Oh, and you know, a movie that I just absolutely flat out refuse to watch is The Human Centipede.
Why's that?
I get it, okay? I get it. I don't have to see it.
Oh, you think
I get it, okay?
You'd be squeamish? You'd be squeamish?
Oh no, it's like, why am I going to watch this?
It's not bad. It's not a bad movie.
Really?
It's not
Really?
a bad movie. Mm-mm.
And I heard part 2's even worse though.
I never saw part 2. The Human
He's got like
Centipede.
100 of them all attached together.
Is that okay? You got to raise the stakes. I get that. Looking back, I mean, it's not something I can't show that to my kids right now because they don't have the image of mouths to butts right now. I don't think. Who's to say? But looking back, it wasn't terribly made, and it's done kind of straight. Like, it's done to shock you. I think that was a German film. I want to say that was German. Could be wrong.
I think the lead actor is supposed to be German, but I think it's an American film. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it is. I'm like, I've got a couple hours to watch a movie. I'm not going to watch that.
Okay. What about did you ever see? Is it called Salo? 100 and some odd days of Sodom.
Okay, that's a movie that I've seen once, and I'm glad I saw it. I feel like it is kind of a piece of art, you know.
Yeah.
But that's one of those movies that I don't want to see again.
Okay, so refresh my memory. I never saw it. It was hard to find when I was growing up. Now it's like on Criterion. Like,
you
can find
They've
it
got
anywhere.
I Love Video, which it just closed, by the way.
R.I.P.
I know. God, I love that place.
What was so hardcore about it? Because it wasn't like the impression I was under was that it was kind of people thought it was real. Do I understand? Is that the controversy?
The controversy was just what they were the images they were projecting. The torture, the sexual torture, and what is it? Oh God, coprophagia, which is eating human waste.
Okay.
Stuff like they would force people to do that. It was just all this torture and filling a boy's belly full of wine and then slicing his belly open so the wine pours out to everybody and they all drink from his belly. And
they show this stuff.
They're showing all this, and it's not a horror movie. It's well, I mean, to me, it's a horror movie actually.
Sure.
And it's a horror movie that I'm not ever going to watch again. It's kind of a dreamlike. It's kind of gorgeous looking, and yet what you're seeing is so horrible. And I think that's what the director intended. Yeah. You know, look how beautiful these horrible things are when you look at them. But I never want to see that movie again.
Was this like a this happened historical kind of? What is the meaning? What's the meaning of this? Why are they
talking out of the side of my mouth here? I don't really know enough about the real story. I think it's supposed to be based on history, like Bacchanalia type stuff. But I really don't. I don't know the history of it. I just know I went with some friends way, way, way back in the day when it was coming out. We all went to the Greenway Theater, which is a theater in Houston where they would often show art films and stuff.
Wow.
And we all walked out of there like,
Yeah.
we're not going to watch that again.
What is your impression of the filmmaker Lars von Trier?
I think he's fascinating.
He's done like Antichrist, Melancholia. He did Nymphomaniac kind of recently. He just came out. I was fortunate enough to watch it at the Draft House at an 11:45 p.m. showing. I don't know why I did that on a Wednesday or something.
Holy shit!
Of the house that Jack built with Matt Dillon, which is on Hulu, which is worth a watch if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think it's on Shudder also. Actually.
Oh, cool.
I've seen it.
Did you like it?
I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it. You know me, I'm weird. It made me think of like Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, or the original Maniac. It made me think of those movies, where you're getting really in the head of the killer. And I find that stuff fascinating.
Me too.
I'm not saying it's a fun movie. It's not a fun movie, although
it's more funny than it ought to be.
He sneaks humor into places that no one would ever be able to do. And I have to say, that's a talent that he has.
Yeah.
Here's my thing about Lars von Trier. I don't like the way he writes his female characters. He writes his female characters usually as very dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Breaking the Waves?
I love that movie. Yeah, I've seen it.
But it's like, why? I love that character, but why do you have to make your female characters so dumb?
Right.
It seems like they're all so dumb. And when you go back and look at them and see and let me know if you feel that way.
I think he writes, or should I say, and I'm not. This isn't a defense, but I think he uses this as it's not an excuse, but like kind of like an alibi. I think he portrays these movies as fairy tales. This is how he gets away with it, right? And how they're looked at as high sophisticated art.
He does do the fairy tale thing.
Yeah, and it's like Hansel and Gretel. Why are these kids so dumb? They're gonna get ate by a witch. Why?
Yeah.
Well, that's because in the fairy tale, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Like Little Red Riding Hood is kind of an idiot, right?
Yeah, and let's face it, real old classic fairy tales are horror stories.
Correct.
They're
Very
almost
true.
all horror stories. They all have horrible things in them. Yeah.
He directed a movie that was so, I feel like it's so underrated, called Dogville with Nicole Kidman. It has such a tremendous cast.
I've heard about this film and I've seen actual clips from it. This is the one where they didn't have real sets, right? They just walked around that building. And okay, I've got to see this movie because I do really enjoy his movies, and this is one I haven't seen.
It's on a soundstage, and the actors like open doors, but they're not opening doors.
Yeah, things are just taped out on the floor, basically. Yeah, and they're miming all this stuff basically when they're pouring things with nothing in their hands, right. And
it's so good.
I think it's a fascinating concept, and I really want to see that. I wonder where I bet I can find that somewhere easily.
Well, going back to the female characters, how he writes them, Nicole Kidman's character is put through the ringer. And I'll just say how he commentates on your criticism and makes it the finale of the movie. And it's kind of his statement of like, here's what you think about my female characters. Well, here's what happens when they're not dumb, let's just say.
Oh, okay.
And he's a very thoughtful, he makes me think, filmmaker. And I've always appreciated how forward-thinking he was. He was one of the few guys in the very beginning who started making movies digitally back when everything was only made on film. And so I really appreciate him. He's one of my favorite directors, even though I think he's a little fucked up and gets away with stuff he wouldn't get away with over here in this country.
I agree. Yeah. Sometimes I'm a little shocked. What was it, Antichrist?
Yeah.
With Willem Dafoe?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's... yeah. That kind of fucked me up a little bit.
Same. When you watch as you're watching these movies, there's just unrelenting dread, and he doesn't get you off the hook. But that's a horror movie. It's almost a slasher.
It is, yeah.
Turns into a slasher, kind of.
I consider that a horror film. Absolutely.
Did you ever see Requiem for a Dream?
Dude, I have that on disc. I love that movie.
Isn't that a horror film?
Say what?
That's a horror film.
I think it's absolutely a horror film, and it's such a real-life horror film that is terrifying.
Yeah.
It's really terrifying. And I've heard so many people say, I can't watch that movie again. You know, it's like that's movie I watched it once, I can't watch it again. But the performances in that movie are so incredible.
Hmm.
I can't once I start watching that movie, I can't stop. Those people are mesmerizing in that film. Those actors, especially I can't think. I'm going blank now. The older woman in it.
From Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore.
Exactly. Ellen Burstyn.
Ellen Burstyn. Yeah.
Ellen Burstyn. The fact that she didn't win the Oscar that year for that part kills me.
I
Just
know.
kills me.
I know.
She acts the hell out of that part.
Yeah.
She was so believable, and you felt so bad for her.
Yep.
And the techniques that he used in that film, it's mesmerizing to me.
Yeah. I feel like it's a movie that I think, and this might be my filmmaker brain, when people watch it, it kind of is like the anatomy of a movie, and it takes people out because it's so stylized, and it really takes glee in the stylization of like the trauma that I think people are they I think it's almost cut together like a music video, and they just don't enjoy that there's no pop sensation that
Yeah.
people get out of it, but it makes it palatable, because if it wasn't, I mean, who would want to see that documentary? Like
No.
that would be weird. But I think about that movie. If I had to say I had a favorite horror movie, me and my friend Dave, when we were doing our old podcast, we did an episode that I was proud of called "Movies We'll Never Go Back to," and that was both on our lists. What's a couple movies that you can roll off that you'd never go back to?
Well, definitely Solo.
Yeah,
Yeah. I won't go back to that. Um, what's another movie I won't go back to? Apocalypse Now.
really?
Yeah. Uh,
Too
yeah.
long?
I don't. Well, it's not just too long. It's just that movie kind of drives me crazy. I feel like it's like three movies in one, and I know everybody says it's a masterpiece, and I'm like, I see where they're coming from, but I feel like, okay, now we're going to this story, now this story, and Brando's performance to me is the flattest, most awful performance he's ever given in a movie. Even stuff he did later where he was like drunk all the time, I don't care. This performance was like he had no idea what he was talking about. You know,
Right.
every time he opened his mouth, I felt like you don't even know what movie you're in. So yeah, I'm not going to go back to that one.
Did you ever see The Passion of Christ?
Oh yeah, I won't go back to that either.
That was one on my list where I was like, I went back to it I saw it as a kid. I must have been like 15 when it came out, and it really made an impression. I was like, whoa, this is intense. This is like torture porn or something. I think that's where the term was birthed from, was The Passion of the Christ, maybe.
I think it was.
And then I saw it as an adult, and I was like, this movie is fucking anti-Semitic, man. Whoa.
It's horrible. It's
Whoa.
horrible.
It is so unabashedly anti-Semitic.
It is. And hello, Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
And also, you know what? Another movie I won't go back to is a movie that Keith maybe watched for the podcast, Apocalypto, which is a Mel Gibson movie.
Yeah.
I will never watch that movie again.
Why? I'm curious.
Ugh. Well, for one thing,
I need to go back and hear that episode.
they kill an animal on camera. It looks like they kill an animal on camera. I mean, it looked real to me.
Yeah.
I think it was a wild boar or something. And
Okay.
I understand people kill those and eat them if you're doing that, but just doing it for film just makes me ill. Like, what is it, Cannibal Holocaust? Where I can't go back to that movie either.
Yeah.
Because they kill animals on screen. I'm like, you don't need to do that. You can fake it.
Yep.
You can fake it, but and these are the Italians, of course. They were always killing things on screen for years. They're kind of famous for that. What are some other movies you won't go back to?
That was one of them. There was a movie. I don't think I mentioned this on that episode of the podcast, but it's popping up to my mind right now, that came out, called Megan is Missing. Did you ever see that?
No, never heard of
It's
it.
kind of cringy. I don't know if you'd actually watch it. This was during the mid 2000s, where found footage films were very popular, and there was a movie. The conceit was a 14-year-old little girl. Essentially, the whole movie takes place through her webcam recordings, and she gets catfished, and
Oh, okay.
It doesn't end well for her. It is a horror movie, and can I spoil the movie? This is the reason why I won't go back to it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm probably not going to watch this. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm gonna spoil the movie, and I apologize. But the person who catfished this child essentially makes her a sex slave, and eventually puts her in this barrel. And it's a found footage film, so the guy puts the camera somewhere or whatever, and he digs a hole. Meanwhile, this little girl is screaming in a barrel, and it's one cut, one shot, and puts the barrel underground, buries her, and so it's like this 15-minute or so it feels scene of like this woman being buried in a barrel, and you just hear her screams get muffled eventually, and then you can't hear anything, and it's just so it's just so relentless. And it was like, what the fuck did I just watch? Like I was like, what did I just put myself through? There's no entertainment value here whatsoever.
Where's the fun? Yeah, where's the fun? I'm not having any. Yeah.
It's kind of like these.
And I'm not saying all
tales.
movies should be fun, but geez, horror movies I think should be. Most of them anyway.
That's an example of one. Let's see, what's another movie I won't go back to? It's strange. Midsummer was a movie that I wrote a whole blog about. Like, I don't think I'll go back to this movie. I saw it again. I broke my rule for your podcast, Jay. But
thank you. We appreciate it.
The thing I told one of my friends was, as I was watching it, like, it was nihilism porn to me. Like, man, like, just this feeling of nothing matters and everything is bullshit and religion is just people in power,
and
sort of masturbatory, what people do when they were bored, whatever, these stories that we tell ourselves. And if a woman or anybody is broken enough that she can find solace in this, that message was like, damn, man, like, why do you gotta take me there? For movie night, I want to watch Hereditary with my family. No one wants to watch it with me. Same director.
God, I love that movie.
I've only seen it the once. No one wants to rewatch it with me. But
I love that movie. I really do. Midsummer. This is so funny. And we talked about it on our show when you were on. Midsummer. Am I saying that right? Is it Midsummer? Midsummer?
I'd have to ask the director. I don't know.
I don't know. And you're going to think I'm insane, and which you already do probably. I think Midsommar has some of the funniest moments in horror.
I hear this. People have this take on this movie.
It makes me laugh, and I think the director meant that. I don't think I'm inferring something that the director did not mean. I think the director meant for these moments to be funny, and some of them are funny to me.
Are any of these moments that are comical to you, do any of them involve the lead protagonist, Florence Pugh's character? Or are they the ensemble outside of her?
Mostly it's the ensemble around her. She's a pretty tragic character.
So her story is humorless to me.
Yeah.
Her
story is not funny.
I'm totally cool with seeing what happens to her boyfriend at the end.
Oh yeah.
I was cool with that.
To me, that's like any kind of movie where the bad guy gets what's coming to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that guy was a douche for sure. I mean, his biggest crime was that he was a douche for sure.
That's it. But he was a big, huge one.
He was a douche.
Huge douche.
For sure.
He was rotten.
And I could see that, but also Hereditary has this kind of, it leaves you with, like an emptiness. That's really fascinating to me.
Hereditary is a whole nother animal. Yeah, I can see similarities in the directing style, the way he films things, but it ends there. The tone in Hereditary, there's nothing funny in Hereditary to me.
Yeah,
there's no humor moments or little light moments. It just gets deeper, darker.
Yeah.
And Toni Collette is remarkable in that movie.
She's a legend. Ugh. Me and my wife went into that movie blind. We just knew,
really?
Toni Collette, it's got to be good.
Oh, wow.
And as we watched it, there's something unprecedented. You think it's going to go one way and it goes another. I'll just say. I don't want to ruin Hereditary for anybody. It's still kind of new-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And when we went home, we saw the trailer. We were like, how is this marketed? And the trailer was very misleading. The trailer made it seem like this is a little girl is creepy movie. And it kind of tricks you. It's actually not about that really at all.
Mm-hmm.
And where it goes is even deeper.
Yeah.
But when we saw the trailers, we played it back. We were like, dude, this was misrepresented. Going into a movie blind is the best way to go into a movie.
It's the best way to go to a movie. But I actually prefer if a trailer misrepresents the film instead of giving away every single plot point in the film. Some trailers they show you the end of the film.
I know.
And you walk in already knowing how it ends. Why do you do that? Because they're just trying to get butts in the seats, you know. In that case, I think. And also, whenever I see a trailer that gives away everything, it makes me think, maybe this isn't that worth going to. If they had to, they had to give me the whole plot just to get me into the theater, you know.
Very true. In 2020, what were some movies you got to see in the theater?
Oh God. Were there any? I mean, there were, but I'm trying to think.
Invisible Man. You saw that movie.
Yeah. I saw that the weekend it came out, and I loved that movie.
Yeah.
She's Elizabeth. What's her name? Elizabeth Moss. Yeah, Elizabeth Moss. I think she's a phenomenal actress. She was fantastic in that movie, and it was a great twist on an old premise.
Yeah.
You know, the old Invisible, because I collect, like, I've got all those old movies too, the Invisible Man and Frankenstein and Dracula, and I've got all that stuff, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I collect all that kind of stuff too. Mm-hmm. And so I love the old Invisible Man because that's a movie that also had a sense of humor about itself, but yet still was a really interesting story. What they did with the story, though, for this new one, the way they twisted it around, I thought it was fascinating, and I thought it was a great thriller.
Yeah, I need to see it. I have it, but I haven't yet watched it. Maybe we'll watch it tonight.
I highly recommend it. It's a really good thriller, and she's fantastic, and of course she's great in everything. You know?
This movie didn't come out this year, but just because Elizabeth Moss was in it as well. You liked Us.
Oh yeah, very much.
That's a movie. I'm very big on replay value. Like I want to go back and see a movie 100 times if I can. That's a very rewarding movie.
Yeah, and it's even more rewarding the second time.
Yeah.
Because once you know, I'm not going to spoil anything in case anybody hasn't seen it, but once you know what was really going on, the acting, you realize how the acting is so incredible.
I know.
You realize what good acting is going on right in front of your face there when you didn't even really realize how good that acting was. You know, it's like, wow, there's little tells and things that happen. You're like, holy crap, I didn't see that the first time, you know?
I know.
There's a movie, I think, did this come out was it last year that Dr. Sleep came out, or was it this year? It was last year, I think.
It was last year, yeah.
Yeah.
What was that about? It was off my radar. I'm confused. Was this like the Shining thing? What is this?
It's a sequel to The Shining.
It's a sequel.
It's a sequel, and it was the little boy Danny. He's grown up now, and
oh, I didn't know that.
Okay, King, you know,
Stephen King.
Thank you, Stephen. I was going to say John King. I don't know why. Stephen King wrote the book, Dr. Sleep, and it's a sequel to his book, The Shining, not the movie. So they want to make this sequel. So they make a sequel that is kind of like a sequel to both the book and the movie, and then he kind of used the original ending from the end of the first book at the end of the movie. He kind of switched things around a little bit. I have an opinion about horror movies. If they're more than 90 minutes, there better be a good reason.
Right.
And this movie was long, and it did not have a good reason to be long. It just went on and on and on. I was bored. I didn't leave the theater. I've only left the theater once in my whole life during a movie.
What movie?
The Fifth Element.
What? Jay, you're tearing me apart, Lisa. Why? That movie is a staple in my childhood.
I knew where it was going, and I was like, this is ridiculous. I couldn't take it. So I went back. A friend of mine said, you have to come back and see it with me. He said, I'll pay your ticket. Come on, my buddy Philip. He's like, I'll bring you. Okay, I'll pay you. I'll buy you popcorn. You got to watch the end of the movie.
Yeah.
So we're watching the movie. And I'm like, and we get to the end, and I'm like, oh God, don't say the fifth element is love. Don't say the fifth element is love. And I'm like, oh God, no.
when I was like 10
I
years
just
old.
couldn't stand. Her
When
character was ridiculous. Her costume was stupid as hell. What was up with that bandage costume? It made no. And his costume.
Yeah.
They were trying to. And Bruce Willis. I have a really love-hate thing with Bruce Willis. His early stuff I like, but his later stuff, he's just give me the money, I'll say my lines. Give me the money, I'll say my lines. He's just there for the paycheck, and I hear he's a pain in the ass too.
Yeah, I've heard the same thing. I feel like he's entered his Harrison Ford level of his career, where he's just like, I'm here. Here I am.
That is so perfect. That is a perfect analogy. Yes.
It's a bummer. I adored The Fifth Element, but I think it was more like for me because as a kid who grew up liking, I grew up. My mom rented me anything I wanted, so I was watching hard R films, and The Fifth Element felt like a kids movie, but with an R kind of element to it. Like it was
aesthetic.
Yeah, the aesthetic. But like,
I have to say, it looked beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it looked gorgeous, and the costumes were crazy. But some of them just didn't make any sense at all. But I know it was supposed to be a fantasy thing. But I just thought it was so corny, and
let me tell you
that's the only time in my life that I've ever walked out of a movie.
Let me tell you the two movies I've walked out of.
Okay.
Number one
was
was
to hear this.
I must have been like 7 or 8 when John Leguizamo's The Pest came out. And I begged my mom because I love John Leguizamo. It was like seeing as a light-skinned Hispanic, it was like seeing yourself on screen, John Leguizamo.
I understand that. Oh, and I want to talk about something about that in a minute.
Put a pin on that. We'll get to it for sure. And so I loved John Leguizamo. I loved everything he was in, and I've read all his books. Like I was super into him, and
he's so smart. He's brilliant.
He is very smart and a low-key great actor. And I begged my mom to show me this movie. And first 10 minutes in, I was like, can I have $5? And can I go to the arcade? And I was like, I'm out. And I left her in the theater.
Did you really?
Yeah. That was the first movie I walked out of. The second movie, I was already like 18. And it was Will Ferrell's Bewitched.
Oh, that was pretty bad. I went to see it, but it was pretty bad.
That was not.
I was disappointed in that.
I remember thinking,
Nicole Kidman.
Yep. I remember thinking, well, I've already made it this far. I might as well finish it. And then I realized, dude, there's still like another hour. I'm out, and I left. But so going back to the Hispanic thing, you wanted to talk.
Well, first I want to talk about The Pest because Paul made me watch that for the podcast, I understand why you left. I had to watch the whole thing because I had to.
You had to.
But I would have shut that thing down in 15 minutes. He was the most annoying, one of the most annoying characters. The only thing worse is Freddy Got Fingered with Tom Green.
Yeah,
that's what Keith made me watch, and I'll never forgive him for that.
I know. You had mentioned on the podcast. You had mentioned, there's stuff that like there's homophobic slurs in that movie that not that was ever in fashion, but are so awful to hear today. I guess it was. But not that makes it okay. But it is so not enjoyable to hear at all today. So I do want to say that is awful. But when I'm watching Freddy Got Fingered, it kind of like the characters in Salo or something, it tears me down and builds me back up, that I'm convinced as I'm watching it, is this movie a masterpiece? As I'm watching it, I'm like, wait a second, is this movie, does it have layers like onions upon layers? Like is Tom Green
giving this movie way too much credit?
Is this about like autism? Is this about like people on the spectrum? I'm like, what is happening? But then the movie's over, and I'm like, I think I was just coping, like rocking myself back and forth to try to make some sort of. This has to make sense somehow.
Trying to find the good in Hitler, just trying so hard.
Hitler's got a dog. He's got to be nice to the dog.
Surely he's had a dog without killing it once, right?
Yeah, that movie is unforgivable, but The Pest is up there too.
I want to ask. This is something I wanted to talk about anyway.
Yeah. I
wanted to ask you, what's like the first time that you went to the movies and you actually saw like yourself in a character on the screen?
Man, that's a good
question.
question.
I was talking to another friend about this the other day, and I was remembering that when it happened to me. So when did it happen to you?
Well, I did say John Leguizamo. It's close, man, because I grew up in a border town in South Texas, the Rio Grande Valley, in a community that is 90% like dark skin, Spanish speaking first Hispanics. And for whatever reason, I came out this way, and my brother was like a little darker. Everybody else in my family was darker. So this created like it othered me at a very young age, and it made me very self-aware. And it was very interesting to have this pigmentation, but to grow up really knowing what racism is was really interesting. And then I see John Leguizamo, and I'm like, well, this guy, I think he's like half Cuban, half Colombian, or like half Dominican.
I know he's part Cuban. I'm not sure because I've watched a lot of his shows. He's just so talented.
Yeah. And so, but to me, I was like, he's a beaner. He's spick enough. Like he knows Spanish. That's good enough for me. That was like seeing myself, Ricky Ricardo, like seeing Desi Arnaz growing up, watching syndicated I Love Lucy, was like, whoa, someone that's like my family is on television in a duck out of water.
Successful.
Yeah, that was one of those. But if you were to cleanse my palate and ask me like today, I don't see anybody. I do not see anybody that I don't see myself on screen. I don't see myself in music. I don't see myself in culture. Like the light-skinned Hispanic male, I don't see that. And it's not like boo-hoo for me. Like it's fine. White males are represented. But real quick, because you mentioned Apocalypto, right? That indigenous culture, they casted a lot of that movie from my valley where I came from in South Texas.
No kidding.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, it was like a big deal that Mel Gibson was in town because it's like, whoa, off the Passion of the Christ.
All the Jews better go hide.
Yeah. Well, there's no Jews in the valley, but totally. And that's where, before the colonizers came to America and made Mexicans, they were the original Americans, right?
Yeah.
In Central America.
Yeah.
What's crazy about being a light-skinned Hispanic is the language of Spanish is a white language, but brown Mexicans have an elitism to Spanish, but it's not even their language. They speak an indigenous language, right?
Yeah.
Like Alfonso Cuarón's movie Roma, which I was a big fan of. Really,
that's a beautiful film.
I liked it quite a bit. The lead actress was an indigenous Mexican who spoke a different language while everybody else spoke Spanish around her. They were kind of like a middle-class Mexican society. So I say all this because it's so... Being a Mexican-American is actually way more complex than people think. And being a light-skinned Mexican is just another layer.
Even more,
it's even more layer of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, there's like a body dysmorphia or like an identity disorder coming of like, what am I?
It's a prejudice. It's a prejudice.
I remember the first time I dated a white woman is when I was like, oh, this is what white is. I didn't know. Like, and I was already like in my mid-20s. Like, I didn't know. So white people were the minority where I came from. So that's all that is, like a can of worms, Jay. Like, it is a weird thing that I'm still processing. But let me turn the tables on you. Like, when did you see yourself on screen and you're like, that's me. I'm that.
Okay, well, being gay and growing up, because I was born in '60, so back, as a kid, of course, I couldn't, of course, but, and I was, I'm not going to go into how awful school was, but anyway.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So, I don't know, is homosexuality a spectrum? Because we were watching a show, it's called Mindhunter on Netflix, and they showed clips, which is fascinating, and they showed clips of Dog Day Afternoon, and Al Pacino plays, I believe, a homosexual in that movie. But, like, do you identify with homosexuality as a broad general stroke, or is it a certain type of homosexuality that you're like, that's me?
Well, let me tell you. Growing up, watching movies, even movies from like the 30s and 40s on TV, they would always have the sissy, and that was what I was, and I knew at a very young age that I liked boys. I knew very young. I'm one of those people that there was never any doubt in my mind. No, I've never dated really a girl ever. I've gone out on dates as a friend, but I've never dated a girl.
Yeah.
But all I ever saw on these old movies and stuff is the sissy, or they would be like the town would kill them or whatever because they were so disgusting or all this. So 1972, I'm 12 years old, and our neighbor, this is hilarious. Our neighbor took she had a daughter my age and then a younger son, and then I had my younger sister, and she took all four of us to the local theater to see Cabaret because, oh, it's a musical. I'll take the kids to see a musical. Oh, it's PG. Oh, but it'll be fine, So she's sitting, and I know she told my mom later, she was horrified. She's like, I'm so sorry. I had no idea there was going to be all this, stuff, this sexual stuff in it. And mom's like, it's not your fault. Don't worry about it. But Michael York plays Brian in this movie. Okay. And he meets Sally, and right off the bat, Sally comes on to him, and she's like, oh, unless you sleep with boys, because if you do, I wouldn't dream of, bothering you. And he's like, oh, people don't ask questions like that. And she goes, I do. But then later on, he has a relationship with a man. And I'm sitting in the audience, 12 years old, and I'm looking at the screen, and I'm seeing this guy is not a Nelly. He's not a sissy, the usual Hollywood. This is a normal, nice-looking, well-educated guy, and he likes men. And I'm like, my heart is just like ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. I couldn't get over the fact that I'm seeing myself up here, and I don't have to be a deviant. I don't have to be a freak.
Yeah,
I can be my normal self and still like what I like.
Yeah.
It was mind blowing to me, and I was 12 years old.
You're so lucky that you had that.
I know it, right? I know it.
Wow.
And of course, now things. I mean, you see gay characters in lots of things now, and they're good and bad, and that's the way it should be. All people are good and bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If the character's the bad guy, they used to say, "Oh, the character can't be." A lot of gays always used to say this. They always make the gay character the killer and whatever. And I'm like Harvey Firestein. I'm like, you know what? Visibility at all costs. Okay, just make sure we're out there. Okay.
Yeah.
So even the sissy, I'm glad that the sissy was there, kind of, because at least they were there. At least acknowledge that we exist.
Off the top of your head, give me like a top 10 gay characters in cinema that to you are like on the Mount Rushmore.
I don't know if I can do all 10, but Harvey Firestein has to be up there for Torch Song Trilogy. Gay characters. Okay, geez. Now I'm on the spot.
And like homosexual men. I don't want to count lesbians.
Okay. Jack on Will and Grace.
Mm-hmm. That counts.
Tom Hanks' character in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Another game. Man, I may only be able to do 5 even if I'm lucky.
Did you ever watch HBO show 6 Feet Under?
Oh yeah. Oh, I loved that character.
I love Michael C. Hall, man.
Yeah, he was great in that show.
I saw that show before I saw Dexter, so I didn't know him as Dexter. But that relationship is maybe my favorite relationship that I've ever seen on television.
It was very real.
Yeah.
It was very real. I felt like that was a really real, and he was really conflicted, and I felt his confliction. I'm lucky I'm not in that position. My parents have always accepted, and my parents love Rick. They love Rick. Oh my God, they just, they just are so happy that we're together. And so I've always had support at home. It was outside in the world where things got, problematic.
I'm going to ask you something, Jay. I'm very curious. I hear this from women all the time. That like homophobia of like, get away from me, don't touch me, that kind of stuff. Do you think that homophobia comes from like a man that's in the closet who doesn't want to touch those feelings?
I think it comes from a lot of places. A lot of it comes from religions.
Yeah.
But a lot of it comes from, I don't want people to think I'm that. And then some of it does come from, oh my God, what if you touch me and I like it?
Right? You always hear in the news like these politicians that are Bible thumpers, and then it turns out, well, they're deviants
in a hotel room with
because they're ashamed. They're trying to hide it. That's what makes them a deviant. It's not the acts, It's like, why don't you just come out and like live your life? But it's always the people that condemn it on a long enough timeline that it comes out, or so it looks like. And it's like, oh, that's the way they felt the whole time.
You have to wonder, these people that are so obsessed with gay sex, why are you so obsessed with what we're doing when we don't even want to share it with you?
Yeah.
We're not sharing it with you. Why are you so worried about it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think
I just can't stand to think about what you're doing. Well, why are you thinking about it so much?
Yeah. Interesting. We're in a time now where people are more conscientious about, homosexuality and inclusion, diversity in general. What's really interesting to me is there's a whole new spectrum of, like, I don't want to say gay, but like of things I don't really know what it is. Like take what's his name, Dan Levy's character in Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
It's like in the
That show's so
I was
good.
like, is he gay? Like for a long time, I was like, I don't know if he's gay. Am I stupid for not knowing? And then
No, you're not.
and then he marries a man, but I don't
Yeah.
think he's. I think even in the show, he's like, I'm not gay,
Well,
or
he's-
or I
because,
don't know. I'm so
well,
confused.
As an actor, he acts very gay in that part.
Yeah,
If I may use that term, and I mean that in a lovingly way. I adore that character.
yeah, great character.
But also he has admitted he's had relationships with men and women. He's very
right.
fluid as far as his sexuality. I think
Yeah.
that character is anyway.
Yeah,
I love what that show did. It started out as hilariously snarky, and it ended up making me cry
yeah,
just because it was so beautiful.
yeah.
That show was amazing.
Yeah, I remember you posted somewhere online of like, how did the show turn from this to that? And that's what
Yeah.
actually got me in. I was like, how could it do that? That's interesting. I want to watch it.
How did the show go from being like a snarky parody to this heart-touching, heartwarming thing that just had me in tears, happy tears, not,
Yeah,
which
Yeah.
is, I'm kind of easy to do that as long as you manipulate me right.
right. Same. Every now and then I can tell when I'm super anxious and I have like my bucket of anxiety is just getting full, and before it tips over on somebody, or God forbid, like on the highway or something, and I get into an accident,
Yeah.
I will go on YouTube and search the top 20 like saddest scenes in cinema, and I'll just cry. Hey there, buddy. Oh, he can't hear me.
Ive says hi. My husband just walked in. He says hey.
Hey.
I've been working. I have to get out of these clothes.
We're still recording. No, I'm getting a strip show right now while we're recording, I have to add.
Dang, man, the best of both worlds.
Right?
What are some examples of movies that you go back to cry?
To cry.
Yeah.
There's a moment right at the end of Meet Me in St. Louis that makes me cry every time. It just makes me cry and it's so corny, but I cry every time. La La Land makes me cry every time, right at the beginning.
Yeah.
It just gets me. And at the end too. The end is just so, I just love that movie so much. So those are a couple that make me cry. I can't think of anything else that really gets to me. It's usually something new that I'm watching that surprises me that'll like get me,
Yeah.
But I can't think of any others. What do you go back to that makes you cry?
Something that's like on standby for me is Jack Nicholson in, what's it called? About Schmidt. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie. Yeah.
I haven't thought about that movie in a long time. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with that movie. I really like that director quite a bit. He made a movie with Matt Damon recently called Downsizing that I don't want to. I don't want to.
Have you seen Downsizing? I haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it, but it also doesn't look like I'd like it. Like I like his The Descendants with George Clooney, Nebraska with that actor Bruce Dern, and
yeah.
I like his movies. Election is like a movie I always go back to.
Oh man, Election. We covered that on the show. I love that movie.
That's just like an all-timer right there. But About Schmidt is something that just makes me cry. Weird things make me cry. Like good acting. Good acting will make me cry in general.
Oh yeah. When someone knocks it out of the park and you're just like, wow, how did they do that? How did they come up with that emotion and make it so real and genuine?
There's a scene in Boogie Nights where Philip Seymour Hoffman was my favorite living actor before he died. He was my favorite actor for years.
He was remarkable.
There's a scene where he kisses Matt. Oh no, I'm sorry, not Matt.
Yes.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yes. Oh, that scene. Oh, yes.
That will
I feel
make
so
me
bad
cry.
for him every time.
That breaks my heart every time.
It's heartbreaking.
That'll make me cry. Just little things. Like I will just go out and I'll search for scenes, and just because I need to get it out, man. It's like it's like diarrhea or something. Like
Hedwig and the Angry Inch does that to me also.
does it? Okay,
The end of that movie, I'm blubbering at the end of that movie. I am just blubbering. There's something also, not just blubbering, but also something so almost like, you have to see the movie to understand what I'm saying. I feel like there's a rebirth at the end of that. The movie ends with like this rebirth and let's start anew kind of feeling. It gets me every time. There's
a Lars von Trier movie starring Bjork, who just acted in that one movie and was like, I'm never going to act again. And I think it was an Academy Award nominated performance as well, off of Breaking the Waves. The movie's called Dancer in the Dark. That almost every scene in that movie makes me want to cry. It's so sad.
Wow.
It's so sad. But it goes out, it's very manipulative. Like it's needlessly sad. But that movie, any scene makes me cry. I love to cry, man. Like, the thing I love about movies the most is good acting. I want to see pretty people. They don't have to be pretty, but
they don't have to be pretty. They
don't
just
have to be pretty, but like confident. You know, you got to be good.
Yeah.
I want to see. I want to just see. I want to be transported somewhere by good acting.
Yeah.
Period.
Absolutely, and that's what. Well, and it's the combination. It's the good acting. It's the good cinematography. It's the right choice of music, not too much, not too little, just at the right moment.
Wardrobe.
And the writing, and it's such a collaborative thing to make that happen.
I am obsessed. La La Land makes me cry, but it's not the big acting moments. It's like it's the small joyous moments that will make me cry.
That's what gets to me. When she's dancing with her roommates in the apartment.
Yeah.
I can't sit still. I cannot sit and watch that scene. I have to get up and move with them.
Yeah.
They're just so I want to be with them. They're having so much fun, you know?
Yeah. They're so in the most, like, what the movie makes you feel like this is the most important moment of their life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, where they are in their lives, even though it's not glamorous, those are like the special moments for sure. Emma Stone is totally incredible in that movie. Like, it's one of those. She
deserved that Oscar.
She did, and I fall in love with her when I watch that movie. It's really weird.
I do too. And oddly, I fall in love with him too. There's something so charming about him. That moment when he walks into his apartment, and his sister's there, and he didn't realize it, and she scares him. That little moment where it makes me laugh every time. He's so funny and natural. And then she says something about, like, the rug. He said, I brought you a rug. And I said, I don't need a rug. She said, what if I said, like, this jazz legend pissed on? And he said, oh, stop that. Wait, is that true?
Right. That was a rumor with him, right? What was his name? Not Miles Davis. Was it Miles Davis?
Well, I think it was Miles Davis or something.
And it's like, I think there's videos of him pissing on women, I want to say. That's why he's like, wait a second, is that real?
I remember David Steinberg was talking about meeting Miles Davis at a party. He said, this is back when everybody was doing coke. You know, everybody did coke, right? So he says, hey, man, let's go do some coke. And he's like, oh, sure, with Miles Davis? Yeah, I'll go do some coke with Miles Davis. So they go in the bathroom, and I think he was dating Cicely Tyson at the time. So Cicely Tyson's in there with him also. And he's like, and Miles Davis puts out the tiniest little thing of coke, just the tiniest little hit. I'm like, oh boy, he's stingy. Okay. And so I did Miles Davis's coke, and I was up for 5 days.
Holy smokes. That's a good story. Man, that's nuts. I know it's kind of hard not to talk about. You can't, unfortunately, it's the Academy's fault. Like, you can't talk about La La Land without even thinking of Moonlight.
Oh yeah, I know.
You saw that film, didn't you?
Oh, twice, yeah.
What'd you think about that?
Oh, incredible.
That movie makes me cry.
It deserved the Oscar also, yeah. I thought that movie, talk about a movie making me cry. Oh my God.
That's rough, man.
And that actor, man.
I know. Well, all of them really, but
everybody in the movie, yeah.
That movie made me cry. I will say, man, like, I'll never know what it's like to be a homosexual man, but Moonlight, I don't know why, it just makes me feel like I do know what it feels like.
You got a view into the window there.
Yeah,
it hurts, that movie did a great job of illustrating that, and they did it without making like a I don't want to say scandalous, but like sensationalism. They didn't do any. And now we know he's gay, and it's like, it wasn't. It was very subtle. It was moving. Yeah. You know who is in that movie that I just absolutely love is Janelle Monáe.
Oh yeah, she's in there.
Yeah, she's got something new out. Is it I don't know if it's a film or a series.
Yeah, I think it's a series. I know what you're
I think
talking
it's a
about.
series, and you know what? I think it's like series 2 of Homecoming or something.
Oh, okay.
Did you watch Homecoming or listen to the podcast Homecoming?
Mm-mm.
That's a fun podcast. I liked the podcast actually better than the show, although the show was pretty good. Julia Roberts played the lead in the show, but Catherine Keener plays the part on the podcast, and she's just fantastic in it.
I have the same birthday as Catherine Keener.
Oh, no kidding!
Yeah,
No kidding. I
that's
really
why
like her. She's really good.
Yeah, she's super underrated.
And
Well,
underused.
As we're winding down, I want to ask you if we I don't mean to speak for you, but if we could all leave the country and go chill in Barbados around November, I think we'd do that, right?
Hell yeah!
But I'm not looking forward to it. I have so much going on at that time. I'm moving. I'm moving to another house.
I didn't know that.
Like the weekend of Halloween, and so like all of
Holy
November.
crap! That weekend you're moving?
Yeah, that weekend. It's gonna be.
Oh my god!
It's gonna be insane. And also, that's the busiest time at my work that requires all of me 24/7. But what does the rest of this year look like for you? When do you see yourself going back to the theater? I mean, let's be honest. Like it's a place where we reset. It's like our church, right? Like it's where we.
That's the thing I miss most of anything is not going to the theater. Full transparency here. I'm not a young spring chick, so I don't want to put myself out there too much.
Yeah.
Also, my mother-in-law lives with us, and she's 90, so I don't want to bring anything home that might harm her.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a long time before I'm back in the theater again. I have to say. I know people are saying some friends might go, and they're like, we were the only ones in the theater, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's bad enough I got to go to the stores and stuff. I don't want to. I feel like if I brought something home and hurt someone here, I would never be able to forgive myself.
I know.
Yeah. So that's my answer for that. That being said, boy, do I miss it. I miss the Alamo pre-shows.
Me too.
I miss all that stuff. I've been watching Master Pancake shows. Are you a Master Pancake fan? The Master Pancake guys?
I've never participated or anything.
Oh, dude, they're so funny. They're so much fun. I've been watching them for 20 years.
Wow.
Way back when they first started. In fact, they let me propose to Rick at one of their live shows.
Man, that's so cool.
It was so cool. It was Back to the Future, and they said, we're going to do a trivia contest. Who wants to do it? And I raised my hand. Oh yeah, come on up. The problem was I'd forgotten to bone up on trivia, so I didn't answer any of the questions right.
Your mind was somewhere else.
Well, yeah, I was all worried about the proposal. So then John Erler says, well, we've been asking Jay questions, but Jay has a question for someone in the audience. And that's when I proposed, and it was awesome. It was so much fun.
So you're the one that proposed. Wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we already knew we were going to get married, but I just thought it'd be fun to, and also he didn't know that I had gotten his rings. So that was a surprise also. It's like, oh, look, we actually have rings. Wow. Okay.
That's beautiful, man. What year was this?
That was, it was the year it became legal.
2015.
I want to say, was it 5 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
I think it was 5 years ago. It was the year it became legal. And we waited a few months because we didn't want to have another anniversary. So the anniversary of us moving in together is also the anniversary of our wedding, August 12th.
Cool. That's the way it should be. You don't need 2 dates. What is that?
Dude, I can't keep up with my own birthday, much less, anniversaries and stuff.
Yeah. Man, that's awesome. How are you managing the podcast right now? You guys are doing it remotely, and
yeah, we're doing it remotely, and unfortunately, it doesn't sound as good as it did. When I could, because the only way I know how to make it sound good is for all of us to be in the same room, and I'm not as technically gifted as other people such as yourself probably with these sound things. No. But it sounds okay, but we're still enjoying it, and we're still every 2 weeks, and in fact I'm going to post one probably this afternoon.
Beautiful. So
you're going to come be with us in November.
Oh yeah, what are we talking about again?
We're talking about a movie called One Cut of the Dead.
Ooh.
Which starts out like a really weird zombie movie, but it turns into a film about a filmmaker, and that's why I wanted you to join us to watch it and talk about it. Yeah,
I'm in, dude. I'm gonna make a movie this year, man, because I'm dying.
Oh man, I'm so excited to hear this.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've heard you actually say flat out you're gonna do it.
I'm gonna do it, and you know what inspired me, man, was Run Lola Run.
Oh, I'm so glad.
That movie fucked me up.
Glad, man.
That was so good. Like, it was one of those. Why did I wait so long to see this? I knew about it. I knew of it. You know, I knew the director.
That movie is fantastic, and I'm so glad you enjoyed it, man. I really thought you would. It's so ingenious.
It woke something in me, and I'll say something that I haven't really said in public before about this thing that I want to make is Run Lola Run opened my eyes to a sort of sub-genre that I don't even know if it would have its own section in what was the rental place called? I Love Movies, or what's it called?
I Love Video.
I Love Video. I don't know if it would have its own section there, but there are these movies that have, and I'm not a big video game person, but they have these video game type qualities where in the video game world, when a character dies and you come back, it's called a respawn, right? That's what it's called. And there are films that kind of have this quality, Run Lola Run being a very obvious example. Another is there was a movie with Tom Cruise called, I think it's called Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, the Die Repeat. What is it?
That Live Die Repeat. That's a way better name.
Should I watch that movie? I haven't seen it yet.
Oh hell yeah, you should.
Okay, I've heard it's really good. Okay,
it's
go
so
ahead.
Good.
I didn't want to interrupt.
I think it's on. It's on something. It's on one of the streaming platforms.
I'll find it, but go ahead.
It's so good, and without giving it away, like, what's strange is, and this is kind of a spoiler, but not really, because it was like in the trailers, but Groundhog Day is a genre, essentially. It created a genre. And like movies that have that, like Run Lola Run, this sort of respawn kind of, we're stuck in this time loop. It's a Groundhog Day. Like there's no other.
It's a Groundhog Day.
There's no other way to call it that. You know, I've heard a lot of people during this pandemic refer to it. I'm in a Groundhog Day kind of thing, right?
Happy Death Day.
Okay, so someone mentioned that to me.
Yeah. Happy Death Day is the same thing.
I need to see that. There's a sequel. It has a sequel, right?
Happy Death Day to You, yes. And it's fun, too.
I need to see it. Does it have any names?
They are so much fun. And the actress in there, I can't think of her name right now, but the lead actress is fantastic. She's adorable. And she's also one of Emma Stone's roommates in La La Land.
Oh, okay.
She's the blonde. Yeah.
Okay, I know who you're thinking of.
Yeah, and she is fantastic in these movies.
I need to see that. I need to see that because
they are a hoot. They're a hoot.
This genre to me was very exciting, and so I wrote something. And
cool!
It was for the first time in years where I was like, oh, I have a passion to tell this story because I haven't made a feature film in 5 years. And that seems like a long time, but there's these directors that they have these large gaps in their filmography. I think it's okay, right? Like you don't have to be Woody Allen and make 2 movies a year, and one a decade is mentionable, right? So in that genre, in that vein, I have something I want to work on for sure, and so hopefully there's more going on when we record in November. Wouldn't that be nice? Okay.
Knives, this is exciting news, man. Yeah. I'm really excited.
Thanks, I am
and
too.
Especially you talking about like the loop thing, and I'm like that inspiring you. I'm like, I can't wait to see what you've come up with.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. I hope so, anyways. But we'll see. I want people to be protected, like the actors. Like that needs to be okay. Like
that's got to be first. Yeah, that's got to come first. Yeah.
It comes first, and there's got to be a way to do it where nobody touches anybody, like you socially distance a bit, right now, and that's just got to be a way to do it. But Jay, where can people support your podcast, find you on the internet, and stay in touch with you?
We're at haveyouseenthis1.com. You can email us at haveyouseenthis1@gmail.com. You can get us on iTunes, Stitcher, Amazon Prime Music, Spotify, wherever you catch your pods, we're all over there. Yeah. So yeah, come see us because Knives comes over sometimes too, so you can listen to him again. It's
fun. This guy's he has one of my favorite podcasts, and I listen to it, but it just makes me a little melancholy because I'm like, I wanted to talk about that, or I wish I had this question. Like, do I text Jay and ask him? But I'm like, don't be a nerd.
No, be a nerd, please. Be a nerd.
I'm gonna be a nerd. All right,
be a nerd. Do not hesitate. And you need to come back more often than we've been doing it.
It's cool.
This whole pandemic thing has really slowed down a lot of stuff. But now that we're doing it, virtually. There's no excuse for you not to be on more often. So we're gonna work on that.
I appreciate that, buddy. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. I know
thanks so much for having me. I had so much fun talking to you.
It's just a good chat, and I really appreciate you, man. Let me know if there's anything I can do for you in the future, and I'm there.
You were the best, buddy. I appreciate you so much. I just have to let your listeners know that if it weren't for you, our show would probably not be on iTunes.
You would have figured
That's how
it
we
out.
met. You helped me get our show on iTunes, and I'll never, ever, ever be able to repay you for that.
Man, real quick story just to kind of highlight that. I had moved to Austin. I already had my family, my kids and everything, and I was just tired of living where I was from, and so I wanted to go to a place where, art mattered, and I had just more opportunity to make money and stuff.
Austin.
Doing what I love. Yeah, Austin. And so the first 36 hours I was here, I saw your Craigslist ad, I responded, and whatever money you sent me or whatever, that went a long way, man.
Holy crap. I did not know this, Knives.
That
Wow.
went a long way.
I'm so glad.
And in the first 2 months I was here, I was working as a maid. There's a business called Maids to Go, where
I know that show. Yeah,
it's all
I know that show.
mobile or whatever. And I was cleaning rich people's houses, and it was whatever. And so I finally got a job, and I started, I was able to make things work, and now things are good. And so really early on, meeting with you was a sign of good faith from the universe. And so
man, that's awesome.
It means more to me than it could ever mean to you. And so thank you for that.
That's so awesome. Thanks, Knives. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks for coming on, man. We'll have you on.
Bet.
You can come
pleasure,
on anytime.
Sir. I'll be glad to. Anytime. I'll be back. Anytime you want me.
Never ever believe anything you hear. And believe only half of what you see. And always, 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 forever and ever and ever, put a force field around your heart.